spread. Both players in the 7-2 bracket. Collin, actually a champion here on the SCG Tour 3 years ago, also was a champion in our Standard Open. He was playing Mono Blue Devotion at the time.
Okay. A lot of these mono-colored
attack decks.
Yeah.
Robert wins the die roll, takes the play. Starts off on the mountain and go. I remember Robert from yesterday. It's the all matching mountains except for one. And Earthshaker Kenra will be his first play and swinging for 2. So Ryan, mono red mirrors traditionally, when in standard formats, are about going bigger than your opponent. But a lot of times I talk to players, that's not the case here in standard.
So there's a couple things going on here. A lot of your early resources are just going to trade with the other players. You're going to see a lot of creatures running into each other. Honestly, you're not that upset to be on the draw. The one thing that changes this is getting Hazoret online. That's going to break the mirror wide open.
A swing with both creatures. The on-crop Crasher from Toups meets in a braid, but Kenra hits in for 2 again.
You want to talk about mismatch mountains,
Love
though.
it. Love it.
We have Tempest and, is that P3K? I think it might be. Might be 7th edition.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we have white bordered old frame, but big mana symbol in play. We have black bordered old frame, old mana symbol in play. In his hand, he's got white bordered new frame, big mana symbol.
8th or 9th. Good spread.
He makes Soulscar Mage. Next one should just be like foil full art Zendikar. Shock. We'll shoot it at Soulscar Mage. And here's actually an opportunity for Collin. You will abrade in response to the shock.
Yeah, and with 2 mana up there, that shock, that was quite aggressive. If Collin only had 1 mana up, you might be relatively convinced that he doesn't have a shock, given that the Kenra just connected on turn 2 in the face of just a mountain. But that shock there, the odds that Collin just had something to blow him out was relatively high.
Yeah, you see Robert, I think Robert may have missed that. He then said, okay, the Soulscar Mage dies. And Collin's like, no, it actually doesn't. On-crop Crasher does exert, though. No blocks for Soulscar Mage, and it will attack Collin down to 13.
Now with the exerted threat, if Collin has another threat to commit to the board, he's able to spend a little bit of time developing his position here. You don't have to worry about the Crasher immediately. If he had a Crasher of his own, he could really swing the tempo in his direction. Bomat
Courier is a threat of his own. Not exactly as exciting as On-crop Crasher, but it will attack and put a card under it.
That's fine. If that's all he's having, good chance he has more removal spells in hand.
Carry Zev joins in. 2 cards left in hand for Collin, so we're not going to see the Courier sacrifice just yet.
Yeah, Carry Zev actually one of the more relevant creatures in the mirror. Just attack for 3 across 2 bodies.
Toups has some interesting decisions. He's got 3 cards left in hand. Lightning Strike, Hazoret, and Earthshaker Kenra. They're a great 3 cards for him to have. I'm interested to see how he decides to play them.
You have a little bit of a dilemma. If you just cast Kenra Lightning Strike this turn, next turn you'll be able to just cast an attack with Hazoret.
Yeah.
Or if you play Hazoret, you can just deploy all this stuff next turn. Rountree might not be expecting any of it.
Yeah, Hazoret, I mean, as you mentioned, you talk with most mono red players, it is the card to draw in the mirror match here. So it'll be Earthshaker Kenra from Toups. No blocks on Carry Zev. Kenra can swing for 2. No, I'm interested in what Robert is going to do with the Lightning Strike, whether that's a removal spell or a burn spell here. He's got Collin to 11, and with that Hazoret in hand, the decision's very close.
Yeah, Toups still at 18. He has a lot of life to play with from here.
He'll just say, go. That, to me, shows that he's thinking about throwing it upstairs.
Yeah, there's a very good chance of that. We'll see exactly what Rountree commits to the board. Currently, Carry Zev, Soulscar Mage, Bomat Courier, together, that only amounts to 5 damage.
Sunscorched Desert shoots Robert down to 17. Now, Soulscar Mage is actually, in this mirror match, the only way to kill an on-board Hazoret.
Yeah, you can deal some damage and put -1/-1 counters on it. Though in order to do that with 1 spell, you have to rely on a sideboard Chandra's Defeat.
Well, it's not the easiest. Even shrinking it down to a 2/1 makes it more manageable, I suppose. But
it does, though as the board gets gummed down, just having the ability to discard your cards and turn them into shocks, that can break it open. You also just have this blocker that just gets to block anything and stick around.
Here's Hazoret on Collin's side. A thumbs up from Robert that resolves. Looks like just one card in Collin's hand. So now Lightning Strike is going to be cast. Robert left the option open to throw it upstairs, but after seeing Hazoret, decides to hit Karizev with the burn spell. Yeah, it looks like just one card in Collin's hand, so Hazoret should be able to attack.
So with the Karizev, if we add a Hazoret, Rountree would still only be attacking for 10. He had a shock that only makes it 13. So with Toups committing Hazoret, you have Hazoret, Crasher, Kenra. That's 10. Lightning Strike is actually lethal with that combination if it goes upstairs. If you assume an all-out attack, Toups might have just given Rountree another turn to play with.
You're right, so Toups down to 10. Yeah, I'll count up 2. You're right, that is 1 damage short.
You know, you see
Because
all those creatures.
leaving the Karizev in play, he's got this on-crop Crasher Exert. He could have left Collin 1 creature.
Yeah, in all likelihood, all of Collin's creatures are attacking anyway.
Yeah.
And if there's only 1 left behind, the Crasher checks that. And if 2 creatures are left behind, you're not even taking that much damage. You don't have to use the Lightning Strike as removal spell.
Exactly. Looks like he might have another burn spell in hand. Maybe picked up something like a Lightning Strike.
This is
We'll
not
see. Here's
lethal.
Hazoret.
If
Yep.
Rountree has picked up a shock, he can kill the Crasher. So maybe it didn't matter.
Right. Yeah, Collin does have 1 card left in hand, a single red open.
But the Lightning Strike upstairs at least checks Collin for that. And it would have had to been off the top in the last turn or two with the way that the texture of the game is played out.
Well, Robert will have to make the best of his situation. Hazoret is cast, taps out for it. He does have only 1 card in hand, so he's free to attack. I think if it's not lethal, just attacking with Hazoret has some appeal to it.
Yeah, hang back a couple blockers there. Rountree doesn't have a Crasher of his own on the board. So good chance you're able to make some blocks. You have to have a line to actually close the game from the point where you deal your combat damage this turn, though. Rountree at 6, it's really difficult to convert 6 with just 4 mana up. He has Ramunap Ruins, he has 1 card in hand, but the only way to get 6 with 2 cards in hand off of this mana is 2 Lightning Strikes. Next turn, it's going to be more difficult to punch through with these other creatures. If Rountree just has nothing, he's looking at attack with Hazoret and 2 1-power creatures at 7, plus Hazoret activation only gets to 9. It's really risky to shove with all the creatures, though, but there's so many somethings that just turn this board state into lethal.
I don't think he can swing the whole team. If he does, it's just 1 short, and he would lose on the swing back. Well, I guess not on board, but almost certainly losing on the swing
He
back.
can beat exactly Mountains, unless Rountree has 5 mana currently.
Rountree does.
He only has 1 card in hand, though.
Only 1 card,
So,
right? So he can't play
so
land
it's like
and
Mountain and he
discard
draws
twice.
Mountain. He can't actually kill Toups.
Right.
I don't think that Toups can beat spells at this point, no matter what he does. I don't
So
think
none
he has
of his line beat a spell.
Yeah, it looks like he does not have a line to beat spells.
So then he swings everything.
He's got to
right?
shove and pray.
So he will swing 5 damage worth of creatures, leaving back the Kenra, or leaving back the Hazoret. Collin sacrifices Bomat Courier to draw those 2 cards. He goes to 6. His last card in hand was a Mountain. Now with 3 cards in hand, he needs to cast 2 of them if he wants to move Hazoret.
Leaving the Hazoret back, that's going to check Rountree. He's going to want on-crop Crasher here for sure.
Yeah,
He'd have played it by now if he had
I
it.
believe he does.
Looks like there's a Mountain in hand as well.
Well, if he has on-crop Crasher Mountain, that's lethal.
Yeah, cast Crasher, activate
Hazoret.
Yep. Exert Crasher.
And we'll see from Rountree what he hit.
Lining up 2 cards here. You certainly want to be very careful not to make any math-related mistakes in these matchups.
Soulscar Mage, Earthshaker, Kenra, pass. leaves one card back in his hand.
Yeah, hanging back that mountain, it's better used as a Hazard activation on the following turn.
Yeah, no real reason to attack there. The Hazarets, the indestructible Hazarets would check each other.
And with Toups at 10, he might even just block the other creature and just eat it in combat.
And we go back to Toups. He's got Soulscar Mage Mountain in hand. This is fuel for his own Hazaret. If they both just start blocking and burn each other out with Hazaret, you have to figure Toups is going to win that one. He's ahead on life.
10 is a bit higher than 6. And Toups also has the Crasher himself. Though he's behind on creatures, won't necessarily be able to meaningfully convert that. If Rountree was able to produce a Crasher, that could significantly impact this game.
So Toups says go. I think his choice is between casting Soulscar Mage and not. He decides to keep the extra card in his hand.
Yeah, pretty easy to find the line where you just deal 2 points of damage to Collin 3 times and the game is over.
Sure, remember there's that Ramanap Ruins in play for Robert as well if he needs to find 2 more points. And is this interesting spot in the red mirror where we've reached a bit of a standoff. Collin says go, so Toups is going to activate his own Hazaret on end step. Discards a mountain, shoots Collin down to 4. So Collin's got about 1 turn to win here before Toups will burn him out with Hazaret. Sun-scorched Desert, all right. That puts Collin to 3.
Yeah, not really different from any other card in the deck.
Yeah. If he had drawn 2 of them.
Yeah, all his cards are the same with an opponent at 4, unless you can meaningfully change the texture of combat.
Use the desert to ping Collin down to 3. Can say go, has that Ramanap Ruins and Hazaret both up. Collin will discard a land on end step to shoot Robert down to 8. But now Collin's going to have to win this turn. If he says go, he's done.
Yep. Couple pretty free ways to shock here. He has the Ramanap Ruins online now, card in hand.
And those deserts you see there from Collin, that one in the middle, a Scavenger Grounds from Rountree. He's got his deserts, he has 10 total, the 4 Ramanap Ruins, the 4 Sunscorched Deserts, and 2 copies of Scavenger Grounds.
Yeah. He has a couple of cards in hand here, but there's just kind of too much in the way to break through for a full 8 damage.
Bomat Courier from Collin. And this is a sign to me that he doesn't actually have the lethal attack, but he's hoping to attack and perhaps draw into it.
That, or you hope for a suboptimal block.
Full swing, puts a card under Bomat Courier. And one thing's back, when Collin cracked that Bomat Courier for 2 a couple turns ago, he really was looking for maybe a burn spell or an Earthshaker Kenra or an on-crop Crasher, and he just missed on all of those.
Mm-hmm.
So Toups blocks, only letting 2 damage through, and then he'll shoot Collin down to 1. So Collin's need to find 6 more points of damage. The Soulscar Mage that was not blocked, that one does have prowess, but sacks Bomat Courier. Pig looks at the card. That's not going to do it. And game 1 goes to Robert Toups.
Yep. Set up Hazaret technically second, but was able to leverage the damage better.
Yeah, he'd gotten a lot of damage just off that on-crop Crasher, Earthshaker, Kenra early, and that seemed to be the difference. So we look at the sideboards, and what's interesting here is the players have put significantly different cards that you don't always see in this matchup. So starting on Collin Roundtree's side, his sideboard is pretty lean in the actual cards he wants to play. Just 6 different cards. He's got a full set of Chandras to feat. Well, that seems great here. 3 Rampaging for Rostodon. He's the 2nd red player we've seen this weekend with that card in his sideboard. The first time we saw it, it was unreal good. 3 Chandra Torture Defiance, 3 Glorybringer, 1 Pia Nalar, and then here's something which you see it in the Tom Ross playbook a lot, and Collin's following this one, just a basic mountain in the sideboard to help him in case he wants to up the mana curve. I do like that.
Yeah, in any matchup where you want Chandras and Glorybringers, your game 1 plan revolves around 1, 2, some number of 3s and 4s, but mostly 1 and 2 mana spells, so an extra land helps a lot there. Likely you're going to see Pia and Alar in this matchup as well, just the 2 bodies. That's totally reasonable. You might even see Rampaging Ferocidon just on the play. The fact that it dies to the 2 mana spells is pretty unfortunate, but if you're able to just leverage the tempo off of that, it could be a difference maker in the mirror match.
If you're not familiar with the card, it's a 3/3 for 3. Players can't gain life on it. It makes that doesn't really matter. Whenever a player casts whenever a creature enters the battlefield, its controller takes 1 damage.
It also has Menace, which can really matter in this matchup.
That part's pretty impressive. So Robert has some of the same cards. He's got 3 Glorybringers as well. He has 2 Chandra's Defeats instead of 4. And then he's got a bunch of different cards. He's got 2 Pias and Nalars, but then he has cards that Collin does not. Magma Sprays, 2 Chandra Torch of Defiance, 2 Aethersphere Harvester, a Sweltering Suns, and a Vance's Blasting Cannons.
Yeah, the Aethersphere Harvester definitely very significant in the mirror.
That's big.
Basically force the opponent to have an Abrade if they're going to beat that card.
Or a Rampaging Ferocidon.
Sure, yeah. Can't gain life. Vance's Blasting Cannons is a pretty interesting one. I think that the mirror is actually one of the matchups that it's better in than a lot of others.
Yeah, that's our Transform card in red. It triggers, you have to play 3 spells in 1 turn to make it flip, but once it flips, it turns into quite a powerful land.
Even just the front side, as long as they're not flipping lands, casting 2 spells a turn in a mirror match, that'll add up.
That's really good. I think advantage here, I still want to give it to Collin Rountree. The best card in this matchup is Chandra's Defeat, and he's got 4.
Yep. It's not the highest impact, but it's the most efficient way to just trade. In particular, if Toups casts a Glorybringer and you hit it with Chandra's Defeat straight away, that's a big win.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Soulscar Mage Chandra's Defeat, a pretty clean answer to Hazoret. Maybe the only way we'll see a Hazoret die in any of these games.
Yep.
So Collin shuffling up for sideboard. It looks like Robert putting his cards back. He'll do the same. Now, at Start City Games, we have our weekly sale. That's been going on all week, every week at our online store. A different item on sale each week. We've been having 15% off all Judge Foil promos this week. And you're going to want to head over today. It's the last day of this week's sale to go ahead and pick up some of these sweet deals. Tune in tomorrow morning as well when we start next week's sale over at StarCityGames.com. Okay, ready? Collin will be, I assume, still on the play in this matchup. In some formats in a mono red mirror, you'll see players win the die roll and take the draw. I think Hazoret, On-Crop Crasher, and Earthshaker Kenra make it unlikely that someone will do that.
Yeah, and honestly, just the way that the modern design philosophy for Magic works, there's just going to be fewer matchups where you ever want to take the draw.
I want to say last time I saw this was when Atarka Red was in Standard. I'd see Tom Ross play the mirror and frequently board in 8 more removal spells. It was something, or like six additional removal spells, like 4 or 5 drops, and then he'd take the draw.
Yeah.
And that was about 2 years ago.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were supposed to take the draw in the Approach of the Second Sun mirror, but that's obviously a very different matchup.
Yeah. With these Ramanap red decks doing well, one of the concerns I would have is that Blue-White Approach has been dominating the tournament, and at least before rotation, that was one of Approach of the Second Sun's harder matchups. Now, on our backup match, we had David Thomas playing Approach. He actually defeated a Ramanap red deck this round on one of our camera matches.
Settle the Wreckage has a pretty significant impact on the matchup.
Oh, he kills Hazoret too, doesn't it?
Yep.
And red, yeah, you give them. I have not liked Settle the Wreckage this weekend because I've seen players use those extra basics far too well.
Yeah.
I think the first time we saw it, his opponent untapped and had Scarab God plus activation up. Then we saw Andrew Jessup cast a humongous Walking Ballista. If you gave Ramanap red a bunch of basics, I'm not sure they'd do much with it.
Yeah, they can convert extra Ramanap runes activations in some spots, but they still don't really draw extra cards.
Bomat Courier turn 1 from Collin. There was potential blocker in Soulscar Mage. Collin will have none of that. He'll shoot it down and swing again. 2 cards under Courier.
Toups would really like to have a shock for that one at some point here. In this and any other matchup, Bomat Courier just drawing 4 or 5 extra cards will decide games. got a pretty low floor, but a very high ceiling.
Last time I watched this match was at our local RPTQ. The win and in to go to the Pro Tour was one of them was a Ramanap Red Mirror. Went to 3. I remember seeing it. I like this matchup because it kind of has everything I want in a game of Magic. The games are relatively short, the decisions are difficult, and the decisions are very consequential.
It's like Legacy.
I don't know about the games are short part about Legacy. The other two are really I agree with.
Whoa.
Oh, here we go. 2 more Bomat Carriers from Collin. I believe this is the Spectral Procession draw of the deck.
I'm very into this. And there's not something like Chandra's Pyro Helix in Toups' deck.
Rending Volley, boom.
Yeah.
Or not Rending Volley, what is it? 1 damage to all opponent's creatures. Blazing Volley. Rending Volley is the anti-twin card.
That was in a lot of the week 1 sideboards when Hour dropped.
That would really be good against Collin right here.
Yeah.
If it was in his sideboard, Robert would have boarded it in.
Yeah.
You know, that would be... I would be like, that's my luck. I'd say, man, I finally got my camera feature. I don't know what happened. I just like played these 3 Bomat Carriers. My opponent just blazing volleyed them. Everybody got to watch me look like a fool. Just comically lost.
Yeah, the funny thing about Blazing Volley is frequently you'll play these games in the mirror where you do just lose to it. But what are you gonna do? Not cast your Raging Goblin? Like, Bomat Carrier's not getting better in your hand.
I do want to look at the sideboard. Toups has his Aether Sphere Harvester in hand. He's going to cast that one, make some energy. So this is interesting because I think it should traditionally be a very good draw here. But if you look at the board he's playing against, leaving back Harvester as a block, I'm not as excited about as I normally would be.
If Rountree is interested in getting the cards from these Bomat Courier, he won't be able to gain life. They won't actually engage in combat.
Right.
We're checking for a braid too. If Rountree just has an abrade, forget about it.
He swings, crew, abrade them all. Here is Soul Scar Mage pre-combat for Collin. All the Bomat Courier swing, they get more cards under them. This is becoming concerning. What is it? We have 8 face-down cards on the table?
Yeah.
I'm worried Collin's going to mill himself, you know? If he keeps doing this.
God, lost the red mirror again because that deck.
Crew's the Harvester. Now here's a big abrade check. Okay. Blocks the big Bomat Courier, gives it lifelink. And then Lightning Strike.
Ooh, with the Soul Scar Mage.
Oh, with the Soul Scar Mage, it's a 0-2. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, that is nice.
Oh,
yeah,
takes
so
2.
The pre-combat Soul Scar Mage could be indicative of a lot of things. Could just say, I'm getting this card in my hand, I'm going to activate my Bomat Courier, but then just having the Lightning Strike
that's
there.
so good.
That's really nice.
I thought it was just a bluff. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's so good.
I suppose now that we're on 4 Soul Scar Mage and we have Lightning Strike, Harvester has just gotten a lot worse in the mirror.
Huh. Well, how about another one? 2 more, and I like this, 2 more energy, so the second Harvester can use the energy from the first one. And Robert says go, he's going to try it again, but 4 cards, 2 cards, 2 cards, these Bomat Couriers are just, I just like this robot just laden down with loot, you know? He just can barely carry the cards into the battlefield anymore. See just how many more cards does Collin want? Another Soul Scar Mage. Now it's just a replacement effect, so it's not going to double the counters or anything here.
Right.
But Collin just says go.
Down to 1 card in hand.
Is it 4-2-2 or 5-3-3 under the Bomats?
I think it's 4-2-2.
Remember, these Bomat Couriers, the top one there, we believe 4 cards under it, 2 cards under the other Couriers.
We've achieved Raging Tidings.
Just got to dodge that Engineered Explosives on 1. That'd really get him good here.
The Sunscorched Desert is slightly awkward, though you realistically won't be wanting to activate 2 Bomat Couriers in one turn.
Ooh, Sweltering Suns, the one up out of the sideboard from Toups. Ooh.
He'll do a good job of cleaning this up. Rountree at least gets to sacrifice the big Bomat Courier and end up with some cards in hand.
Yeah, that's actually a Scavenger Grounds in play for Collin, not a Sunscorched Desert. I don't believe there's any graveyard to work with. So Collin's gonna, you're right, sacrifice the biggest Bomat Courier. And we see why he didn't sacrifice him earlier. His last card was Hazoret.
That is unfortunate.
So Collin sacrifices the Bomat Courier. I like that. And then Robert, in response, crews his Aethersphere Harvester. Soulscar Mage only triggers off your own spells, so we don't see any -1 counters on the Harvester. Robert swings in for 3 and gives lifelink. 16 and 14 now the life totals. Collin with 4 cards in hand. They were the 4 off that topmost Bomat Courier.
Find out if one of them is a Braid.
Yeah. Well, here's Hazoret. Land and Hazoret means he has 3 cards remaining in his hand. So 5/4 not going to go to work yet.
Toups got a fistful of spells here.
Yeah. Remember, it only takes 1 power to crew Aethersphere Harvester. So there's a lot of options here for Robert. He's going to cast Soulscar Mage. One of the interactions I always forget in this deck is that actually Hazoret can crew a vehicle even if she is not enabled.
Yeah, you don't see Hazoret do that a lot, but that is technically true.
Chandra's Defeat will shoot down, and there was the combo we saw, Soulscar Mage, and then Chandra's Defeat to kill Collin's Hazoret. He's got a Chandra's Defeat of his own for Soulscar Mage, land, back up Hazoret, and swing. And I like the sequencing on Collin's play, actually killing the Soulscar Mage before casting that second copy of the God, just in case there was another Chandra's Defeat hiding.
Yep.
It's really heads up. And so Hazoret we've seen as the kind of the trump card in these mirror matches. It's really, we're going to see just how good it is. Can it beat multiple Aethersphere Harvester?
Well, Toups needs a crew.
Well, here's a crew on-crop Crasher. He'll jump into the Harvester. It'll swing. It'll get lifelink. It's the last time the Harvester can get lifelink. Toups up to 17, Rountree down to 8.
Yeah, and it's just the 2 Harvesters, so there won't be any more energy forthcoming.
Back up. Well, Collin drew a card and turned his Hazoret sideways. He has 2 cards in hand, so he actually can't do that.
Ruh-roh.
There was an unfortunate Pro Tour moment about that as well.
Attacking with a creature definitely suggests a shortcut that you're going to combat, no matter what was said.
Oh, okay. We're actually talking to the table judge here. That was not an attack. He had actually just untapped that one rather quickly.
Okay.
In that situation, you do care about the judge is going to better assess what the player's doing. We don't know what Collin said. We don't have audio here, so Earthshaker, Kenra, and an attack, and apparently that's just fine.
Yeah.
He had not signaled
that
an attack.
Tracks. You wouldn't just not cast a Kenra if you drew it.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. That was an untapped motion. So Robert down to 10 on the swing. Well, Collin's actually still a point short. So next attack is for 7, and her Hazoret activation makes it 9. But if Collin... The math here is really neat because Collin actually has a 2-turn... Robert has the 2-turn clock. Crasher this turn to 5. Crasher Ramanap next turn to 0. Right? So both players win in 2 attacks on the board here, and Robert's going first.
Collin needs to find 1 mana haste creature, Bomat Courier. He's already used 3.
Right, Bomat Courier would work, Sunscorched Desert would work, Earthshaker Kenra would work, On-Crop Crasher would work. I mean, it's Shock, Lightning Strike.
Because Crasher is fully 3 on its own.
Yeah, actually you're right.
Kenra doesn't work.
Kenra doesn't work. Kenra doesn't work and Shock doesn't work.
Shock works because
Shock works as 1 mana. So there are a lot of draws Collin could have. And Robert's gonna pull up and just say go. It's still possibly a 2-turn clock for Robert, even if he doesn't attack this turn. Just he end-step Ramanaps. And I actually kind of like this. He can end-step Ramanap, untap, and then on-crop Crasher. He could even use one of these Harvesters to block this turn. Yeah. It's a pretty safe way to do things.
Yeah, if you just any creature to crew the Harvester, that's an unblockable creature. Depending what Rountree leaves back, the Crasher might be able to connect on top of that.
On-crop Crash, or carries out from Collin. And especially, he actually can use... I'd like to see him crew the 3/5 Harvester first. This way, if Collin has a removal spell for the first Harvester, he can crew the next one.
Sure.
If he crewed the Shrunk Harvester, you can't put... You can put a big Harvester inside a small one, but you can't put a small one inside a big one. That's how physics works.
That tracks.
That's actually very backward.
Thing is, though, you don't want to block with the 3/5.
Yeah, it looks like he just straight up crewed the small one. And then end step used Ramanap Ruins to shoot Collin down to 6.
Well, you don't actually gain any leverage because ultimately you want the block with a 0/2. So it doesn't actually matter which one you crew first. You're not going to put the 3/5 in front of the 5/4.
Actually, I'm going to go back. Without that swing of Minecraft Crasher last turn, he has lost a turn of velocity.
Yeah, the Karizev there means that even if Toups had a crew, he can't connect with the Crasher here.
Right. But he's forcing Collin to leave back 2 creatures, which is not bad. You see Collin actually played out another land there as his last card, so he doesn't have any more cards in hand.
Continuing to diversify his basic mountain spread. We have Unglued.
I love this. So we have what, Unglued, we have Amonkhet, the Amonkhet full art.
Well, we've certainly reached the points where this is not
clear. It's clear this is his style.
Intentional. This is not a land box pile.
I support biodiversity. Now, in mountains, I don't think there's much biological. So I actually care about the flavor here. So I wouldn't do this to my mountains because a mountain range tends to be uniform. But if I had when I play green, forests, biodiversity is very important, and I would make sure to mix up my forests.
I don't play enough forests for that to matter.
A crew and a swing from On-Crop Crasher puts Collin to 3. Ryan, I'm a little confused on this one. He's just dead on the board, unless, there we go, a Braid to shoot down Karizev. Not as confused now.
Just needed be a little more patient.
If Collin drew Lightning Strike, he's got him. Doesn't look like a guy who's drawn Lightning Strike, though.
Nope.
He doesn't have a way to block Aether Sphere Harvester. So, depending on... Collin may be dead here. Depends on that last card.
Yeah. A Braid would let him survive.
Swing
Lightning Strike would be lethal. Obviously, there's no On-Crop Crasher.
3 each, a swing for 7, and Collin's going to shock On-Crop Crasher. Okay, can Robert draw a crew for the Harvester? It'll do it. Any creature.
Survey says
Land
no.
will not. Collin taking the risk, and he hits the out. Smile on his face. We are going to 3. Anything that could crew Aether Sphere Harvester would do it.
I mean, he didn't take a risk. He was
just
dead.
Playing to his out. Yeah. But all right. There are so many decisions in this matchup. So let's go back for a second there. And I'm not saying that Collin played this wrong, but you know that last turn we played the Mountain, the previous turn, the second to last turn. If he doesn't play the Mountain, when he draws the shock, he has lethal that turn. He could shock, discard the Mountain.
True.
Now, he doesn't know he's going to draw shock, so it's not the right play. But going back to why I love this red mirror, as I said, the games are relatively quick. The decisions are hard. You actually look at that decision of, Collin, should I drop this Mountain on this turn? There's reasons to do it and reasons not to do it. And then I said the other decision's consequential. Because Collin made that decision, he had to dodge one top deck out. And, you know, they're just... You see, I mean, a game where players are at 1 and 3 at the end of the game. These are really exciting matches. So they're going to go to a third game. Now, players have shown their hand a bit in sideboarding. We know that Chandra's Defeat has come in on both sides. That's not a surprise to either player. There's Aether Sphere Harvesters on Robert's side. Okay, Collin knows that now. Do you reach for Rampaging Ferocidon?
On the draw, I'm way less into it. Especially, it's going to get Chandra's Defeat in a lot of spots. And some spots, you know, your opponent's just ahead on board when you have it.
I guess say I'm holding Collin's deck, the reason I wouldn't like Rampaging Ferocidon, like pluses, stops Aether Sphere Harvester. That's a big plus. Minuses, dies to Chandra's Defeat, dies to Lightning Strike. Then I would go think about a Braid. How many a Braid do you think Robert has kept in this matchup?
4.
4? Okay, there's no reason to, like, that's not the card you're cutting?
Not killing Karizev is, like, pretty problematic.
So I guess then, what are the cards you're cutting for, I presume, you know, the harvesters, the defeats.
Frequently you see players looking at some of the lower spots in their mana curve. Rountree clearly had Bomat Courier in. And
3 of them.
It is better on play versus draw.
Sure.
We didn't see any Bomat Couriers out of Toups in that game, for example. Frequently you're just going to go for removal. These early creatures frequently just die.
All right, getting ready for a third game. Now, starts the games, our creature collection. You mentioned our October promo is the Vampire Night Fox. We have this on our coats this weekend. It is October 1st. We've switched over. So you can get this critter here on playmat, sleeves, and in player bundles. It is now on sale at the store, starcitygames.com/creature collection.
Yeah, the turn 2 Karizev check is actually one of the more significant ones in the mirror match.
Yeah, I guess in this match it's a 3-power 2-drop, right? And that is a lot of damage. Toups starts with Soulscar Mage. And Collin will shock it. I love this style here. Just look at that shock.
Got a
That's
spread
pretty.
of shocks too.
You know, you're right. Bomat Courier, especially when looking at Robert saying turn 1 Soulscar Mage, go. Okay, on the draw, I'm not very excited about Bomat Courier here.
Yeah.
Collin will try a creature, though. It's Earthshaker Kenra. That'll get hit by Lightning Strike.
You have 50 minutes. You may begin.
Robert, land 3, Aether Sphere Harvester, 2 energy passes. Interestingly enough, we haven't seen Hazoret run away with any of these games yet, even though I hear, that's supposed to be the card for the mirror.
We've had it be significant. There is
Yeah.
interplay. We saw Hazoret taken down by Soulscar Mage, Chandra's defeat.
I guess I'm going back when I said I'd watched this RPTQ finals of a red mirror. There was plays like turn 4 Hazoret, turn 5 untap Bomat Courier, play Bomat Courier, tap red, pitch my whole hand, whatever, swing with Hazoret.
So, counterpoint, we haven't seen a game in the 2 games that we watched where Hazoret didn't matter. A lot of the other cards have pretty interchangeable text boxes. That hasn't been true for Hazoret.
It is different.
Significant, unique impact. Well, you were right, it hasn't run away with the game, but it's always mattered.
Aether Sphere Harvester swings for 3 points of lifelink.
And there's the Abrade check, and Collin will
Collin.
fail that.
That matchup did decide the Pro Tour. Congratulations to a local player. Sam Eilenfeld had won that one, going to his first Pro Tour. Mentioned Collin Rountree has 2 Pro Tours already in the bank for this season. Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan qualifying for both in a 7-day span. 5th line to Sunscorched Desert for Rountree. Puts Robert back down to 19. Aether Sphere Harvester doing some good work here.
Oh.
Collin will Lightning Strike Earthshaker Kenra. However, we're getting to some high mana situations. That Kenra's a very good card here.
Yeah, that could be eternalized. Notably, an unchecked square on my bingo card.
Yeah.
And there's
You have
a
all
6
the-
land.
There we go.
There's 6
the
mana.
go. Earthshaker
Wow.
Kenra. 4/4. That'll crew Aether Sphere Harvester. And the vehicle will swing again.
I like using the 4-power creature to crew the 3-power creature. It's a bigger life swing.
Yeah, 19 to 14. Robert is up. Earthshaker Kenra. You can check that one off again. It's Kenra on Collin's side. He swings in for 6.
And now Toups out of energy.
Does Toups have another threat? He's actually going to lose this race if he doesn't. He's got 4 damage to Collin's 6 plus active Ramanap ruins.
Looks like he's picked up a Pia.
That's very good here.
Yeah. Does a good job of blocking.
If there was 1 energy left over, he could make a real big play with Pia and Aether Sphere Harvester.
Good. +1/+0 it a few times.
They don't have anything like Aether Hub, a way to just get one more
No,
one
you
more
already,
oomph out of the
already
harvester.
play Sunscorched Desert. You can't afford that. It's also just this 2 of in his sideboard.
I love that Sunscorched Desert just become this staple 4 of in Standard. That's
It's just
so
good.
nice.
It's just good. Piranha Marsh entered the battlefield tapped. This is
Yeah.
all upside.
It is Pia Nalar for Robert Toups. It's a big draw here for with the Harvester. Just in general. 2 creatures, 3 power. There's a lot of oomph there. Yeah, there we go. Piranha Marsh.
And it taps for an irrelevant color of mana, too.
Piranha Marsh gets around worship. I'd like to see Sunscorched Desert do that.
This deck would have a tough time against worship.
Cruise Harvester swings for 7. Collin is at 7. You know, when that card came out on Moto, I liked to play Relentless Rats. I just went to a bot one day and bought 38 of them. I was going to play 22 Swamps for 38 Relentless Rats, and then I realized because your curve only has spots at 3 and 6, you just get to play Piranha Marsh for free.
So Toups is up to something here. He has 3 untap mana. He crewed the Harvester, but he didn't Pia to puss it.
Well, here's a swing for 6 from Collin. We'll find out.
Chandra's defeat would be nice.
Has it.
Nailed it.
It still feels like there's more, though, right? Because he could have pumped Harvester.
Right, yeah, he still has 2 mana.
You can't. Let's see what he tried to target the
Ooh.
Kenra. Now, Kenra's not actually red on the Eternalized side. The black creature, it is black.
What a great design.
So, Earthshaker Kenra, he'll target the other thing.
Just very easy to grok.
Swings for 4. You know, putting another Kenra in the graveyard could matter if Collin gets another turn. I'm not sure he's going to.
Yeah, with the attack happening there, he won't be able to eternalize it from now. Plenty of power on Toups' side of the battlefield.
Second main phase Eternalize. That's And yeah, the Pia ability to pump artifacts, pretty real here. Also, just to note, the second Pia ability, sacrifice an artifact for no blocks, that combined with the pump makes it feel unlikely Collin can survive. Robert gets such great plays like Thopter, Crewing Harvester, Sacrifice Thopter, no blocks. Pia's going to do a real good job.
Yep. Yeah. Making it so creatures can't block this turn is just one of the most powerful convoluting factor in the mirror match. Pia certainly presents that. 7 life is just nothing to work with in this match either, especially with Toups having a board develop like this.
Soulscar Mage, Mountain, and Pass for Collin. 2 cards left in his hand. Go back to Toups. He's going to try. I assume he'll go for a win here. The question is how. Karizev and Hazaret in hand for Robert. He's got a lot of ways to go for lethal here.
Yep. And no compelling reason to cast the Karizev.
No. Do you have a line you like?
I'm pretty into Hazaret. Crew the Harvester with the Thopter, sack the Thopter so the Soulscar Mage can't block.
That was what I was looking at also.
There's just so much
Collin
stuff.
needs so much stuff to beat that.
And he doesn't have much in the way of resources. I think he has 1 card in his hand.
Now, if Collin, he has 2 cards.
Gets 2, okay. I don't think 2.
If it's
two
double
cards.
removal spell.
So yes, Soulscar Mage, so Chandra's Defeat could kill Hazaret.
Yeah.
You don't have singular cards that kill Harvester or Kenra, though, and they add up to 7 on their own.
Yeah, well, you have Soulscar Mage, so two removal spells would shrink
yeah,
1,
you remove some
and
damage
then
from
he's
the
dead on the
equation.
swing back to the Kenra. If he doesn't leave back a blocker. I mean, I might make the play anyway.
And then you're facing down.
Yeah.
There's a Ramunap Runes activation, so the Kenra on the other side, Soulscar Mage is already 5, 6, 7, 9 off of the second Ramunap Runes activation.
Looks like Robert's making that exact play. Crew Harvester, Sack Harvester, cast Hazaret, 1 card in hand. Collin needs double kill spell to beat this. Robert might just going to check him on it.
Yeah, you force him to have pretty specific things, and a lot of the things that aren't those things just kill you.
And there's no reason to leave back a blocker on Robert's side because he knows there's that Earthshaker Kenra in the graveyard. So it's not like any creature can block. It's just to swing for the fences.
If you leave back Creature Harvester, you'll be able to make it so that the Harvester can block, typically.
Yeah, and the whole team swings in. Robert's saying, show me the double removal. This is more than enough. And Collin doesn't have it. He extends the hand, and it is Robert Toups. Second time here, now 2-0 in the camera feature match, I believe, defeating Jack Kiefer yesterday. And he takes down Collin Rountree today. What a tournament for him as he improves to 8-2.
Yeah.